Welcome aboard Pink Monorail. I'm your pilot, Michelle Valladolid, and next to me is my co-pilot, Noe Valladolid.
Hey everybody.
Last time we talked about getting funding for Disneyland. Now we're going to talk about Disneyland opening. Disneyland was literally the TV show come to life. In the last TV special before opening day, Walt hands the hosting over to Winston Hibbler in the pre-opening report. Hibbler produced many of Disney's true-life adventures, The Living Desert, The Vanishing Prairie, The African Lion, and more. On this day, he showed the construction progress of Disneyland, including a humorous reworking of songs like Hi-Ho and Whistle While You Work, as well as the Mice's work song from Cinderella. At the end, a salesman promised a Davy Crockett photo and comic book to any kid who brought a parent to the car dealership, as well as trips for 3 people to Disneyland and new cars. You can watch this special on Disney+. Just search for Disneyland and it will pop up.
Now, the host that you're talking about, Shelly, the guy that did the True Life narrations?
Yeah.
He's the one that would always do the shows that, like, normally in nature, a grizzly bear and a bobcat don't get along. But for the sake of this documentary, we watch what would happen if we stuck them in a burlap sack. My brothers and I love those shows because we'd be like, that's never gonna happen. And the guy would say, well, normally in nature. Nah, you're fibbing. All right, so what happened, Shelly?
Disneyland was laid out by like a movie.
Right, but it was not just 2-dimensional movie sets.
No.
So it was much more than that.
Yeah. Back then, the credits were limited and appeared at the beginning of the movie, usually.
Mm-hmm.
As you enter the park, you see previews of the coming attractions and the attraction posters.
Yeah, the posters right at the front in the tunnels.
Right. Well, they used to be right up in front of where Mickey Mouse and Flowers was.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd see those attraction posters. The windows on Main Street USA are the credits, and there's a couple really good books about that. You might want to look them up.
Mm-hmm.
Dick Irvine ensured, as I said last episode, that the artist's drawings became not sets, but real-life places.
Mm-hmm.
Employees were originally called hosts and hostesses, but in keeping with the movie theme were then called cast members. This also helped because they were casting for roles, not hiring employees, so they could screen out unattractive or overweight people. They couldn't fit the costume.
Right.
They can't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, discrimination is discrimination.
Oscar winner Renee Conley, who worked on a small independent film you may have heard of called Cleopatra.
With Elizabeth Taylor.
Yes. She won an Oscar for that.
Yeah.
And also worked on Kitty Foyle with Ginger Rogers and a lot of other films. Walt hired her to design the costumes for the production, and she just wanted to be known as Renee. Renie.
Now, the production, this is the opening ceremony, the opening special?
The production is the theme park.
The actual park itself?
The actual park itself.
Oh, wow. So when you're talking production, you're not talking about the recording of the special for the opening of Disneyland?
No, I'm talking about the whole park.
Oh, wow. So there's a Hollywood royalty is responsible for the costumes at the actual Disneyland.
Right, because it was considered like a movie production to everyone working on it.
Okay.
You can see some of her ideas that didn't make it that were just amazing, and some that did, in the Happiest Place on Earth book, the one by Don Hahn and Chris Merritt. Speaking of the Happiest Place on Earth, I have a quote. Attention to infinite detail, the little things, the minor picky points that other companies just don't want to take the time, the money, the effort to do right. One thing they lacked, costumes for Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy, and Pluto. They had to borrow some horrific-looking costumes from the Ice Capades. Walt, John Hench, and Bill Justice came up with a permanent on-model costume designs later. Walt Disney had a poodle that he especially loved. When he got home from work, he would grab a couple weenies out of the refrigerator, one for him, one for Doggy. He'd lure the dog into different rooms by breaking off pieces of the weenie and offering it. This gave him the idea of the visual weenie. The castle is the weenie of Main Street USA. The riverboat was the weenie into Frontierland. The rocket ship the weenie of Tomorrowland. I guess you could say that the Millennium Falcon was the weenie of Galaxy's Edge.
Absolutely.
It draws you in. Disney sent out 10,000 tickets to Disneyland's opening day, but so many people counterfeited tickets, the Disneyland Times reported 50,000 people as attending opening day.
Oh my gosh.
Even today, with all the rides and attractions they have now, 50,000 is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Rides broke down, restaurants ran out of food and drink, a gas leak in Fantasyland caused Adventureland, Frontierland, and Fantasyland to close for the afternoon. Meanwhile, Walt was filming the opening day festivities completely ignorant of the trouble going on. Dateline Disneyland was a 90-minute special from 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m., showing off the new park, hosted by Art Linkletter, future President Ronald Reagan, and actor Bob Cummings. 90 million viewers watched the special. There were 5 themed lands: Main Street USA, Adventureland, Frontierland, Fantasyland, and Tomorrowland, and about 20 opening day attractions. Attractions, restaurants, etc. included on Main Street the Santa Fe and Disneyland Railroad, Main Street Cinema, Main Street Vehicles, which were horse-drawn streetcar, fire engine, and Surreys, which they still have at Walt Disney World. Penny Arcade, Disneyland Band, Refreshment Corner, Red Wagon Inn, Carnation Ice Cream Parlor, and Emporium. In Adventureland, they just had the Jungle Cruise. In Frontierland, they had Santa Fe and Disneyland Railroad, Mark Twain Riverboat, Stagecoach, Pack Mules, Indian Village, and Golden Horseshoe. In Fantasyland, they had King Arthur Carousel, Mad Tea Party, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, Peter Pan's Flight, Snow White's Scary Adventures, and Canal Boats of the World, which later became Storybook Land Canal Boats. In Tomorrowland, they had Autopia, and they had Space Station X1. And it says here, Moon Story. So I'm going to tell you my Moon Story.
And that would become the trip to Mars, right?
No, that was Flight to the Moon.
Oh, okay.
Space Station X1 was a satellite view of America. You went up into a satellite and looked down on the Earth.
Now, where was this approximately located?
It was, I don't know.
You remember it?
No, I don't.
Oh, then this was before your time.
This was before my time.
This is from the opening of Disneyland.
Yes.
So you do have a friend that can tell us what opening was like. But we'll get to that at some point in the future. All right, so go ahead and tell us your moon story.
I was taking astronomy class, and the instructor had at the front of this large planetarium we were in a model of Earth about the size of a basketball, and he put his hand right above, about an inch above, and he said, "This is where the space shuttle goes." Where is the moon? Now in Space Station X1, the moon is right by you, which is not right.
Right.
He ended up picking up the model of the moon, which looked pretty large next to the Earth, and walking all the way to the back end of the planetarium, and he said, "The moon is here."
Oh, not even an arm's length.
And I'm like, "Where is Mars?" And he said, "The cafeteria." So the moon is very far away.
Right, but thanks to the magic of Disney, it's as close as the screen.
As the screen. Also in Tomorrowland were the Hall of Aluminum Fame.
Yo, shout out to the Hall of Aluminum Fame. I mean, if there's one thing that I wish Disney would bring back, and I've told Bob Iger to his face, you know, Bob, what we really need is we need to celebrate all of the aluminum and everything aluminum has contributed to us.
We need Cap, the Kaiser aluminum pig.
Oh, that's true.
They had also the Clock of the World, Flight Circle, Monsanto Hall of Chemistry, Circarama USA, The World Beneath Us, which was not a satellite view of America. It was about volcanoes and eruptions and fossil fuels.
Now, was this recorded on one of those 360-degree films, or would that come at a later date?
Circarama was a 360-degree film.
So, this is still Tomorrowland. So, they had films flying over volcanoes, stuff like that, but not 360-degree film.
The film wasn't over a real volcano. It was a simulated volcano.
Oh, okay.
Later in 1955, we have Casey Jr. the Circus Train. This one that I'm going with says Dumbo the Flying Elephant. However, there are people who say that it was open on opening day. They just had to keep wiping down the oil that was leaking from it. So it all depends on who you talk to. Mickey Mouse Club Theater, Mickey Mouse Club Circus, Rocket to the Moon, Tomorrowland Phantom Boats, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea exhibit, Conestoga Wagons, Mike Fink Hill Boats, I loved those, Puffin Bakery, Aunt Jemima Pancake House, which was Aunt Jemima Pancake House until 1962, when NAACP complained and they fired Aunt Jemima.
Right, so there was actually an actress working at Disneyland that was playing the Aunt Jemima character.
Yeah, she said, "I can't believe my own people got me fired from a good job."
Times were changing and there was a lot of turmoil. Certain groups wanted stereotypes to be left behind, even if they were positive stereotypes, there were still stereotypes
Right.
to a certain point.
Right. My parents still called it Aunt Jemima's, and I thought it was Aunt Jemima's until the 80s, but no, it changed over in 62
It's
to Riverbell Terrace.
Riverbell Terrace now.
They call it Aunt Jemima, and when we got there, they said proudly serving Aunt Jemima.
Mm-hmm.
The mats, the paper mats on the trays, had pictures of Aunt Jemima on it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was little,
You still
I couldn't
thought it was
read.
yeah.
I still thought it was Aunt Jemima's. Boy, I miss that Mickey Mouse pancake.
Yeah. Don't worry, I can make you a Mickey Mouse pancake. We're going to pause for a moment so that we can have a word from our sponsors. As always, we would appreciate it if you support the companies that support us. And we're back.
Yes, there were women's heels sinking in the asphalt of the heat. Yes, the water fountains were broken.
Mm-hmm. But there was a reason for that.
Lily and Disney stayed home and listened on the radio. There was a plumber strike, and they said you can have toilets or you can have water fountains. And he said let them drink Coke. The Opera House hosted the Mills, then the Babes in Toyland sets, then Professor Wonderful for the Mickey Mouse Club, then the Mickey Mouse Club headquarters, where you could meet Mouseketeers. I bet it was Lonnie more than it was Annette. The 20,000 Leagues sets found a home in Tomorrowland and stayed there 11 years until the 1966 revamp of Tomorrowland. It cost 10 cents to see the exhibit, where guests could view the exterior of the Nautilus, Professor Aronnax's cabin, the pump room, the chart room, the dining chamber, the wheelhouse, and the famous organ, which later moved to the Haunted Mansion, but that's another story. It closed for good on August 28, 1966. Thanks to Leo Holzer, and it all started with Walt Disney on Facebook, for the information. Serious critics hated Disneyland, calling it depthless and artifice in which the real cannot survive, but ordinary people loved it. Disney, the company, buoyed by the television show and to Disneyland's success, went from being a struggling company to a major studio.
Now, just so people understand, especially the younger generation, Disneyland for a number of years ran on a ticket system. So it isn't like you just bought entry to the park and you could go wherever you wanted. So when Shelly mentioned that you had to pay admission to see the set pieces from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, it's because you still had to buy a ticket book or pay individually at little ticket kiosks near all of the lands. So that went away in the 80s?
Yeah, 1980.
Yeah, 1980. So just keep this in mind that visitors to the park were paying for individual attractions at the time, and that's how they made their money back at that time.
Let's look at the first few years that Disneyland was open. I'm going to talk about 1959 and onward in a future podcast. So we're just going to talk about the 50s to 1960. First we have the Disneyland Railroad train station with the C.K. Holiday and the E.P. Ripley, named after executives of the Santa Fe Railroad, or the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad, until 1974. That was named after Cyrus K. Holiday, Edward Payson Ripley, Fred Gurley, Ernest S. Marsh, doesn't say what the S stands for, probably super, and the Ward Kimball came last. The Combine car was Walt's favorite, as it reminded him of his news butcher days. We actually did a fundraiser for the Combine, didn't we, Noah?
Yeah, they restored it. Was it the Carolwood Foundation?
The Carolwood Foundation.
Yeah, they restored it a few years back. And once it was up and running, they connected it to one of Walt's cars or Lassiter's trains and took it around a loop somewhere.
And they did a fundraising train trip to go up to see the Combine. And we were actually the staff for Roger Colton's private car service. That's the name of the company, Private Car Service. And I was the bartender, and you were a waiter, right? And Alice was a waitress.
Yeah, I think I was a waiter / porter.
Porter. That's right, you were a porter. Anyway, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, if anybody's never taken a train trip up the coast or down the coast, you really should consider it.
Yeah, it's privatecarservice.net. And then the Lily Bell was added later, and we have a story about the Lily Bell, too. The day after we were married, we had a brunch at Club 33 for people who couldn't attend the wedding and some people who could attend the wedding. And Pluto wore Noah's sombrero, and then we got to go ride in the Lily Bell.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it was a really nice way to cap off a trip to Disneyland.
Now, the Frontierland train station that I mentioned when I was talking about trains in an earlier episode that Ward Kimball built, well, he didn't build that train station, but he came up with the plans for it.
Right.
It was the train station from So Dear to My Heart, Fulton Corners, and Walt gave it to Ward with his train, and it was a set, so Ward had to rebuild it from scratch and made up blueprints for it. So when Walt asked for the train station back for Disneyland, Ward said no, but you can have the plans. So that's where the Frontierland train station came from, and is now the New Orleans Square train station.
Right, the one that is playing that early telegraph message.
The landline telegraphy, that's right. The Jungle Cruise was very serious and no jokes at all. One of my favorite photos is of a very serious Walt Disney shooting a hippo. He's got the pistol in his hand and he's got that serious look on his face and the eyebrow raised and the gun is going off.
Because it's True Life Adventureland.
True Life Adventureland.
So normally in nature, the Hollywood executives don't take pilot of the ship and start shooting hippos randomly. But for the sake of Disneyland...
It was redone humorously in 1963, ? Walt brought Mark Davis in, which really pissed off Milt Kahl, but that's another story for another time. It was redone a few years ago to be more polite.
Well, yeah, more ethnically sensitive.
Yes.
But we'll talk about that in the future.
That's right. King Arthur Carousel, as I mentioned when we did our carousel episode, is a 1922 Denzel. Arrow refurbished it. They added horses. They broke the legs off of horses that weren't jumping and resculpted them so that they were jumping.
Oh, gosh.
And painted them all white. So everyone has a white charger on the carousel. It was all sorts of animals. And then it was all sorts of colors of horses. And horses with straight legs. And they fixed all that. And now it is how you see it today.
Oh, very nice.
So what you're actually looking at is over a dozen different carousels in one place. The Mad Tea Party. I have a note here that says, Bob Gurr has never ridden this.
I don't blame him. You get really dizzy.
It's a midway-type spinny ride, if you're not familiar with it. At our wedding, we had, each table was a different attraction. And I got these cups and I painted them pink and pink. Hot pink and light pink. For the teacups, I painted them like the teacups were done in the 1950s. And put M&Ms in there the same color.
Yep, the centerpieces at each table were themed to specific areas of Disneyland. And each one had their own little souvenirs for our guests, and each one of them had matching colors M&Ms. So in this case, one of the tables was the teacups, with the teacups that the guests could take home with the matching M&M colors.
To change the subject, did you know that the Phantom of the Opera once haunted Main Street?
The Phantom of the Opera? I think I remember hearing that, and there might even be a picture out there somewhere.
There is. On the Main Street Cinema, they showed old movies. Just plain old movies.
Not cartoons.
Silent. Yeah, they didn't show Mickey Mouse cartoons. They showed silent films. And one of them was the silent Phantom of the Opera with Lon Chaney. And Walt hired someone to dress in a Phantom of the Opera outfit and mask to menace people coming out of the cinema. The Mark Twain Riverboat. I'm looking at all sorts of notes here. There was a cast member with a clicker, counting people who went on board. Well, he got caught up in conversation on opening day, and he let 5 times as many people on board.
Oh my gosh.
There was almost 1,000 people on board the Mark Twain, which holds 250 people uncomfortably. And it didn't quite make it around the island before it started to sink, and they had to send a boat out.
Right, to start unloading people right away.
To start unloading people.
Oh, how scary. Especially for those that can't swim.
Yeah, I'd be up on the top, but I can swim. But I wouldn't want to swim in the rivers of America. You know why?
The water was clean back then.
Oh, it's only 6 feet deep. I could almost walk it. I'd only have a foot of water above my head. We did see a picture of Johnny Cash piloting the riverboat.
Now that was cool.
That was very cool.
He was young.
He was so young. He barely recognized. But, you can too. You can pilot the Mark Twain and you get a certificate.
No, they don't do certificates anymore.
They don't do certificates anymore?
They haven't done them in a long time. That's something that I found out.
I had a certificate.
I think they gave them out on the last day. That the guests that got to ride it, I think they all got certificates, whether or not they pilot it.
Huh, okay. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride was originally going to be on tracks like a coaster. There's going to be a mini coaster inside the thing. I think it works better the way it is.
Yeah, yeah. Better that than a wild
It's
mouse.
more like being in a car
Yeah,
than being in a coaster. It's the only ride that takes you to hell.
that's true.
Peter Pan's flight on the show I mentioned earlier, where they were getting ready to open, they mentioned that it's on a monorail system. Not the all-weg monorail system, that came later. The monorail system being that it's on a single beam, and that it's hanging from a single beam.
Right. The all-wig one that we're thinking of are the concrete pylons that the track is underneath the train.
It straddles it,
Yeah,
right.
not above the train. Or in this case, the boat.
And they just added a new scene with the Indian village about a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, they updated it.
They updated it to be more polite.
That's correct.
Snow White's Adventures. Snow White's Scary Adventures. Imagineers in the 80s called it Snow White and the Seven Witches. And the thing was, you were Snow White, and the witch was coming at you. And that's why you only saw Snow White once or twice in the whole ride, because you were Snow White.
And you were running through the forest, avoiding her, trying to capture you.
Exactly. They played up the scariness with the book and the lightning and the witch's cackle when you touched it.
Right.
In the 80s, and then they played it down to nice with Snow White's wish. But I'm glad they left the witch or the evil queen in the window above. That's always thought that was a nice touch.
That's a nice detail. If you have no idea what we're talking about, in that area of Fantasyland, if you've never visited Disneyland before and you're in the Fantasyland, next to the theater, is it up above, there's a window, and from time to time it'll actually open up, the curtains will open up, and it's the evil queen staring out, and then she'll close the curtains again. So she's an animatronic, and every now and then you might actually catch her looking.
Yeah, so you stand where the sword and the stone is,
Right.
and look toward Snow White, and then look up. You'll see the window. Funny thing about Snow White, they always have pictures of her with apples. And you'd think that she wouldn't like them, but someone told me that this is wrong, and here is why. Snow White bit the wishing apple, right? Next thing she knows, her prince is kissing her.
Oh,
It made her wish come true.
Yeah, she woke up and there he was.
There he was, kissing her. No permission or anything. Across the way is the Canal Boats of the World, which is now Storybook Land. And it had a smaller monstro when I was little. The hostess, there were not hosts, there was only hostesses, only female cast members on the Storybook Land when I was a kid.
Right.
Practically had to lay down
To fit
flat
into the mouth of
to
monster.
fit into Monstro. So in '83 they built it back up and they made it really bigger. So back to Main Street, we've got the Hollywood Maxwell Wizard of Bras.
So
Hollywood
this comes
Maxwell Intimates.
It comes up a lot in the Disney trivia. Did you know there was a bra shop on Main Street?
It closed in 1956, but for 1 year there was the Wizard of Bras.
Taking measurements and selling bras.
I was really hoping when they did Alice Davis's window that they would make her the Wizard of Bras because her first job was doing bra designs. That's before Disney PD.
Right.
They also had the Maxwell House Coffee House from 1955 to 1957.
Is that where the Starbucks is now?
No, that's where the Premier Shop is, on the corner.
Ah.
And then it was the Hills Brothers, and then it was the All-American Egg House. And then it was a store. I think it was better as a restaurant. Because when it was Hills Brothers, we would sit there and eat dinner and watch the Main Street Electrical Parade. And that was great, even though the dragons scared me. I was 6. What do you want?
Well, I always loved the Calliope section. That was my favorite part.
Yeah, King Leonidas. People were like, Prince John, Prince John. I'm like, no, that's King Leonidas from Bedknobs and Broomsticks. You don't know nothing.
Yeah.
Main Street, I just learned while I was doing research for this episode, had a shooting gallery. And everyone knew this but me, and nobody told me. Main Street had a shooting gallery themed to the 1920s. And it was there from 1955 to 1962.
Well, you weren't even alive when it was there, so why would you lament not getting a chance to know this?
Well, because I know other stuff that happened before I was born.
Well, now you know this little bit of trivia.
Now I know. The Penny Arcade is there now. People would line up, and it was really popular. So they opened one up in Frontierland in 1957.
The shooting gallery, not an arcade.
The shooting gallery.
Right.
They opened up the Big Game Safari one in Adventureland in 1962 and closed the one on Main Street. The one in Adventureland closed in 1982 to become shops and is now the dining area for Bengal barbecue.
I have very faint memories of that shooting gallery.
Do you? I don't remember it at all.
Very, very faint memories. I always liken the memories of early Disneyland from when I was a kid to literally like looking at really grainy Polaroids. That's how my memory is of them. And they're all really grainy Polaroids, but I remember where certain attractions were or how certain things look, but they're out of focus.
I remember them really clearly, but I only remember like snapshots. Main Street had a flower market. There's a little bit of a flower market there behind the fruit cart.
Right.
This was you actually bought the fake flowers and took them home with you.
Is that near where the bricks are that they would test?
Yeah, near the test bricks. Exactly.
Now, for the people that are listening, what are the test bricks, Shelly?
The test bricks were a test to see how the brickwork would behave in the California sun.
So to find them, if you're traveling down Main Street, they're in one of the alleyways, so near where the fruit and the flowers
the fruit cart and the flower. That's where the Starbucks is. You turn right, you go in, and right to the left of Lost and Found is the bricks.
So you're going to notice some of the bricks are a little bit different than others.
They look like they've been through an earthquake.
But that's how they were to test how they would hold up over the years.
Also on Main Street was a Bank of America, and it was a real working bank.
Yep.
And you could get checks.
I remember.
With the castle on them and the characters. And in Florida, you could go to Sunbank, because they had a working Sunbank inside the Magic Kingdom. And you could get checks with Cinderella Castle and the characters. I had those checks. Now there's no banks in any of the parks, and you can't get checks with the theme park stuff on it. You could get like Minnie holding a dog and stuff like that, but not.
Well, they do have the collectible like silver coins and things like that. But for those that are interested, I want to know where it was. For Disneyland, once you go in, it's on the right side tunnel. Immediately to the right, it's a gallery now, and they still have the big bank vault door. So,
and they put the most expensive artwork inside the vault.
Yep. Whenever they had a feature artist or the most expensive piece of artwork, it's going to be inside the actual vault. So that part is still there.
Right now, there's a piece in there that's worth $28,000. And it's just words.
Oh my gosh.
It's Walt's opening speech.
His original notes?
No, done very stylized in a Richard Terpstra way.
Nice.
But not by Richard Terpstra. But next to the Bank of America is the Opera House, where Mr. Lincoln and Mr. Disney are now. Back then, first it was the Mill Shop, and then several other things, including the Babes in Toyland exhibit. And then it changed in 1970 to Legacy of Walt Disney, and we'll talk about that later. Now, the Golden Horseshoe Review. I always wanted to see this when I was a kid, but my dad saw it in 1960 and thought it was stupid. So we never got to see it. But it ran from 1955 to 1986, and I went by myself to Disneyland for the first time in 1987.
Oh, you just missed it.
And I went there, I went straight there, and no more. You got a different show. But they had the Slewfoot Sue was Betty Taylor. The Irish tenor was Fulton Burley. The traveling salesman was Wally Bogue. And they had Can-Can Girls and a live band.
Well, Wally actually played multiple characters on this program. So he was the traveling salesman, and he was Pecos Bill.
Pecos Bill.
And was he anybody else?
Who was he when he spit out all the beans that were his teeth?
That might have been Pecos Bill. If you get a chance, if you look up the Muppet Show episodes on Disney Plus,
yes,
you'll see him perform a part of that act. So it's classic comedy.
On the opening broadcast, they interviewed a small boy, and he said, "I want to meet Davy Crockett, I want to meet Davy Crockett." And they said, "Here's the Davy Crockett Museum." The Davy Crockett Museum was open from 1955 to 1956.
Do you remember where that was?
It was one of the storefronts that is now one of the clothier companies in Frontierland.
Oh, okay.
Not Pendleton, but over closer to the Golden Horseshoe. Oh, my parents spent forever in Pendleton. And I was a kid going, I want to go on the rides.
Yeah, we didn't come to Disneyland to do mall shopping.
And when we got to Epcot, they did the same thing with the shop in Scotland.
Would have run me up the wall.
I wanted to go look at the countries. I wanted to go look at Figment. I wanted to go look at everything.
And they're checking out shirts.
And they're looking at sweaters. And not just the sweaters that you say are inside the big ball.
Yeah, at Epcot, they got this giant golf ball that has sweaters inside of it. And one day I'm going to take Shelly there so that we can buy sweaters from the giant golf ball.
Yes, that's what's inside the giant golf ball. Now we're going to take a break to listen to a word from our sponsors. And we're back. Next time you're at Disneyland and you get behind someone really slow or people who stop in the middle of the thing for no reason, remember, there used to be pack mules in Disneyland that did the exact same thing. From 1955 to 1956, they were just called the pack mules. In 1956 through 59, they were called the Rainbow Ridge pack mules, and then the pack mules through Nature's Wonderland in 1960. There was also a stagecoach, which was known as the Rainbow Mountain Stagecoach from 55 to 60. They had Conestoga wagons from 1955 to 60. Conestoga wagons are the covered wagons. And they said real covered wagons with real horses.
Right.
Well, they were built at the Disney studio. So they weren't like from the 1800s. So real
replica covered
wagons. Then we had the Rainbow Caverns mine tray from 56 to 59, and I'm actually going to talk about that in another episode. I have a Discovery Bay episode that I'm writing.
Gonna do an entire deep dive on that area of the park.
When Mice Chat had their 10th anniversary, I did a talk on Nature's Wonderland and Big Thunder and Discovery Bay and how they all work together. And I'm going to do an episode like that. They had Indian war canoes from 1956 to 1971 and an Indian village separate from Frontierland. And it was part of Frontierland. And then in 1956, they moved it over to where Bayou Country is now. Critter Country, Bear Country, whatever your era is. Mike Fink keelboats were there from 1956 to 94, and I loved those. Over in Fantasyland, we had the Mickey Mouse Club Theater from 1955 to 1964. This was like Main Street cinema in that it constantly showed Disney shorts and you could just walk in the middle of one. There were no set shows. It became the Fantasyland Theater in 1964, and then it became Pinocchio in 82, 83.
Ah, okay.
They also had the Mickey Mouse Club Circus from 1955 to 1956, which was a circus arts show with, jugglers and tightrope walkers and featuring actual Mouseketeers doing the acts. Live animals with Dr. George H. Keller's Jungle Killers and Bob O. the Disneyland Clown and the Talking Wonder Horse.
Now, where was the Mickey Mouse Club Circus located?
It was where New Orleans Square is now.
Yeah,
where Holidayland was.
I remember it was on the eastern side of the park if you're looking at a map.
Right.
So it's about where New Orleans is now.
I could be wrong on where the circus was located.
We gotta look back at our maps.
Gotta look back at my old maps. They had a circus parade every day leading to the circus. And they had the tiger and the black leopard separated by a thin wooden panel.
Oh my gosh.
Well, the tiger broke a hole in the wooden panel and stuck his paw through, and the leopard chewed the paw off.
Oh my gosh.
Bit his paw right off. And that was pretty much the end of the wild animals in the circus. Merlin's Magic Shop was also in Fantasyland from 55 to 83, and it was the original Magic Shop. The one in Main Street was not the original. The second one opened in Main Street in 1957 and is still open. Another thing was the Skyway to Tomorrowland and Fantasyland from 1956 to 1994.
I feel so sorry for anybody that never got a chance to experience that. For the generation that grew up after post 94 has no memories of this. There were two stations. The one station was on the Tomorrowland side, just behind the giant circle theater. The other one ended on the Fantasyland side, just behind the carousel. You can still see where the stations are and where they would depart from. The Skyway went through the Matterhorn Mountain. So you would go from one side of the park to the other side of the park, get a wonderful panoramic, and if you look carefully, when you were going through Matterhorn, you could actually see Harold the Yeti. So that was real. I have wonderful memories of that.
And the one in Tomorrowland was like next to the Carousel Theater and behind a shop called the Maude Hatter. And also called the Hatmosphere. And the other end was a beautiful chalet right behind Casey Jr. Circus Train. And there's still a couple steps leading up to nowhere now that it's been demolished. But there was a beautiful mural painted on the chalet. And you can actually buy a copy of that mural. It's a circle with the sun and the moon and some other things on it. That's really beautiful. I have one from Main Street Art Corner on Etsy. And it's $79. But it's absolutely absolutely gorgeous. And if you want a piece of lost Disneyland, that's where you get it.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the Autopia. Now, most of you know the Autopia as being one big attraction, but it was actually 4 different attractions. You have the Tomorrowland Autopia. You had the Junior Autopia, which was the Autopia with guide rails, which it all has guide rails now.
Right.
The Midget Autopia was for little kids, and then the Junior Autopia became the Fantasyland Autopia when they added guide rails to the Tomorrowland Autopia.
So these were 4 separate ticketed attractions.
One changed 3 times, and one was a separate.
Okay.
Tomorrowland was separate, Junior and Fantasyland was the same one, and then Midget was the 3rd one, so there were 3.
So was the Autopia an opening attraction, or did it come like a year later?
Tomorrowland Autopia was an opening attraction.
Okay.
Midget Autopia was 57 to 66, and Fantasyland Autopia was 59 to 99, and it was also known as Rescue Ranger Raceway. It was paired with the Motorboat Cruise, which ran from 57 to 91, and the Motorboat Cruise through Gummy Glen. And across from the Matterhorn, there's a dining area. You can buy snacks and then sit and dine over the water. That was the loading area for the Motorboat Cruise. And they just got so tired of having to go out into the water and rescue people who had flooded their engines that they finally shut it down in 1999.
Now, for those that are listening...
91.
For those that are listening that don't have the point of context for Rescue Rangers Raceway or Gummy Glen, there was a programming during daytime television. There was a programming block called the Disney Afternoon, which had shows like DuckTales, Rescue Rangers. That was a Chip and Dale show. DuckTales was Scrooge McDuck, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. There was Goof Troop with Goofy and his son. The Gummy Bears actually predated those shows. That was a CBS show, I think, originally, and then it changed networks. But
ABC.
Yeah, ABC. So that got pulled over as well. But so the Gummy Bears were magical forest creatures that would drink gummy berry juice, and I think the power only worked once a day, but that turned them, they had all of the ability to bounce like a rubber ball so that they could get away from the bad guys. So that had a sort of medieval fantasy element to it. If you get a chance, you might want to check those out. If they're not on Disney Plus, I know they're on DVD because we have the whole collection, but those were wonderful cartoons. You might want to check them out. Rescue Rangers, Gummy Bears, DuckTales.
Goof Troop.
And Goof Troop.
In Tomorrowland, we had Circarama USA. Circarama.
Not Circle Rama.
No, Circarama, because it was sponsored by American Motors. Get it? Car?
I get it.
A Tour of the West ran from 1955 to 1959.
This is on the Tomorrowland side, or between Tomorrowland and Fantasyland?
This is in Tomorrowland.
Okay.
It became America the Beautiful in 1960, and America the Beautiful ran until 1984. And during that time, it was sponsored by Bell System and AT&T.
That AT&T, the Bell Systems AT&T America the Beautiful, that's where they had those glass telephone booths. Didn't they? The rooms that you could sit down?
At the exit. I'm going to talk about that in Tomorrowland 67.
Awesome. All right. I look forward to that one. That was one of my favorite memories with my brothers.
Mine too. At the entrance of Tomorrowland was the Clock of the World, and that was there from 1955 to 1966.
For those that haven't seen it, it looks like a trophy.
It does.
It looks like, if you're familiar with sports, it almost looks like the NBA trophy. You have a base with a giant circle on top, and the circle represents the Earth, or the sun and the Earth. Mm-hmm. And it's slowly rotated to show us approximately where the position of the Earth was relative to the sun. So instead of having a clock that we would follow, with 12 hours a day.
Oh, it had the 24 hours a day.
Oh, it had. Oh, well, yeah, no, I'm saying a traditional clock just has 12 on it.
Oh.
So, but it had the full, the Earth would turn and you would know exactly where the position of the Earth was. So it really was the clock of the globe, or the clock of the world. You
could stand in different places and see what time it was everywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
The Monsanto Hall of Chemistry was there from 1955 to 1966.
Now, where was this located?
Where Star Tours is now.
Aha.
It was a hands-on museum-like attraction about chemistry. Next to it was Space Station X-1, satellite, also known as Satellite View of America after 1958, and it was there from 1955 to 1960. And I mentioned this earlier, but a circular screen showed America from space. Rocket to the Moon was there from 55 to 66. which became Flight to the Moon from 67 to 75, Mission to Mars 75 to 92. I'm going to talk about it more in Mr. Johnson and stuff when I talk about Tomorrowland 67.
I love that attraction.
I did too. I didn't like Mission to Mars as much because it had that loud noise. You know that noise.
Yeah.
They had the Tomorrowland boats in 1955, which became the Phantom boats from 1956 until 1956. It was the first permanent attraction removed from Disneyland.
Well, they learned quick.
But it wasn't the shortest. We'll get to the shortest. The World Beneath Us ran 1955 to 1960, and it was a CinemaScope film about man's quest for energy, featuring a diorama of the Earth's crust. At the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea exhibit from 55 to 66, which I mentioned. And then they had the Flight Circle, where you had model planes and a spaceman, a real spaceman who flew with a jetpack.
Now, the landing pad is still there for the spaceman, isn't it? Where he would land?
No, that's where the People Mover is now, I think.
Well,
Or not the People Mover, but you know what I mean.
Space Mountain.
Oh, Space Mountain.
That's where approximately where the landing pad was for
was it?
the rocket pack guy, if I remember correctly.
I don't remember. And you're younger than me. Now, they had a thing called Hobbyland, where Space Mountain is now. And they had booths and activities. It was there from 1955 to 1966, where you could buy and purchase and build model kits.
Now, these were Disney model kits or just random model kits?
Random model kits, from dinosaurs to
spaceships
to everything in between.
Wow.
And there was a small pool with model ship races.
Oh.
And a seating area with view of Tomorrowland. So you got the kids doing models, you could sit on your butt and enjoy the view. And I want to thank the Duchess of Disneyland for that description.
Oh.
Not the part about the butt. I made that up.
Oh, very good.
Tomorrowland Art Corner from 1955 to 1966. You could buy cells for pennies.
These were original cells.
Original
Not
Disney.
cells drawn by an employee of the parks.
No. Real movie cells.
Oh, to have a time machine.
Oh, right? And some old money. Because they'd look at our new money and go, this isn't real.
Yeah, what's this counterfeit money?
Yeah. We talked about the Aluminum Hall of Fame.
The world-famous Aluminum Hall of Fame.
And Cappy the Kaiser Aluminum Pig.
Hooray.
But we didn't talk about the Dutch Boy Color Gallery, which was there from 1955 to 1963. They had color wheels there, and you would turn the color wheels and try to match colors. And if you did a good match, you'd hear a nice noise. And if you did a bad match, you'd hear a bad noise.
You get like a buzz.
Where I said the flight thing was, I was wrong. That's where the Astrojets were from 1956 to 1964. A rocket spinner ride. They weren't up in the air yet, not till 67.
Okay.
In 1964, they changed the name to Tomorrowland Jets because United Airlines sponsored the Tiki Room, and the American Airlines had their Astroliner. And they didn't want them advertising Astro.
Oh, so they had to change the name.
They had to change the name. And of course, the Crane Company Bathroom of Tomorrow from 1956 to 1960. And now we talk about the shortest lived attraction.
This was an opening day attraction?
No.
Okay.
It ran from 1957 to 1958.
Okay, so a couple of years out.
The Viewliner. Train of Tomorrow, the fastest miniature train in the world. It ran alongside the Disneyland Railroad, and it was the shortest lived ride in park history.
Wow. Was it a full year or like 11 months?
I'm not sure.
But either way, it didn't even last a year.
No.
Wow.
57 to 58. Monsanto House of the Future. Monsanto was doing two things at once. The Hall of Chemistry and the House of the Future. And it ran until 1967, which I really wanted to see it. I really wanted to see the House of the Future, but it was long gone by then.
Well, what a pain it was to take it apart, though.
Yeah, they used a wrecking ball on it, and it just bounced off. So they just took the whole thing and put it in the junkyard.
Yeah, then they have to chainsaw it sections at a time.
Yeah,
because if you don't know or you weren't born, it was this futuristic-looking house. It sort of looked like an X from overhead. You'll see a version of it if you watch the Mickey Mouse shorts. They sort of parody it, where Donald gets stuck in there and the computer goes haywire and it gives them nothing but trouble inside the House of Tomorrow. But it was really nice. It was really futuristic looking. But everything was made out of plastics and modern age materials, which was really cool until they decided that they needed to use that land for something else. And like Shelly says, they took a wrecking ball to it And since the walls were like plastics and other hybrid materials, the wrecking ball would just bounce off of it. So they had to cut it up in sections in order to get it out of the park because they had never dealt with anything like that before.
Let's go over to Frontierland.
Okay.
Tom Sawyer Island opened in 1956.
Okay.
From 1956 to 65, they had Huckleberry Finn's fishing pier, and guests could catch and keep fish.
Wow. So they restocked the rivers of America?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
And they had a
actors.
fishing pond.
Uh-huh.
They had an actor, Tom Nobby, who played Tom Sawyer. But guests would keep their fish, and they wouldn't keep their fish. They would leave them on rides. They would stuff them into bushes.
Yeah.
And the smell got so bad that they said no more. So then it became catch and release, and then fishing went away altogether. Holidayland.
Yeah, where was Holidayland?
Holidayland was where New Orleans Square is now.
Mm.
It was there from 1957 to 1961, and it featured beer, baseball diamond, beer, circus, beer, picnic area, and beer.
Wow.
It was replaced by New Orleans Square because people would get drunk and then come into the park.
Right, so that was a no-go.
Yeah, Walt didn't like that. Fantasy in the Sky fireworks ran from 1958 to 1996. They were not, they were choreographed to a point, but not to the point where they are now.
Right, with music and lasers and down to the second, or the split second.
The sailing ship Columbia made its debut in 1958, and it was built at the same shipyard that did the ships for park I'm going to talk about next episode.
Okay.
And that's...
we won't give it away just yet.
Okay. All right. Dumbo opened August 16th, 1955.
So it was opening year, not opening day.
Not opening day.
Okay.
Alice in Wonderland didn't open until 1958.
So it was still an early Disneyland attraction, but it just, that was years after the movie came out.
Yeah, 1951. I've always loved the part where you go up on the leaves.
Yeah, that was really nice, the way it turns.
It's just a really nice touch for a dark ride that you go outside and you go around on the leaves. And from the Skyway, you could see that on top of the mushroom that was the ticket booth, the shoes of the caterpillar that he left there.
Oh yeah, that's a good detail.
Lastly, on this list, I have Dapper Dans.
The singers.
The Singers, January 1st, 1959.
So they were not opening day barbershop quartet. They were a few years late.
And I got that list from touringplans.com, which we're very familiar with Len Testa and Jim Hill from touringplans.com.
Well, thank you for all your help during the research.
Yes, thank you for doing all the work for me, Len Testa, again.
Now, Shelly, if people want to find out more of your history, where can they find you?
They can find me at micechat.com, the happiest place in cyberspace.
And if they want to support this podcast individuals, where can they support us?
You can go to patreon.com/fab, F-A-B.
If you want to find out more about my work writing about Disney characters, cartoons, especially video games, you can just search up the Street Writer Podcast. I'm on summer break right now, so I'm not updating anything, but I've got 1,000 blogs that you can look up and do searches for. So if you have a keyword like Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, you'll find plenty of information.
And if anyone can get their hands on an Oswald Challenge coin, we would be eternally grateful.
Super, super grateful. Well, Shelly, what are we going to talk about on the next episode of the Pink Monorail podcast, Manufacturing the Magic?
We're going to talk about Disneyland's sister parks, the other parks created by C.V. Wood.
Now, this was shortly on the heels of Disneyland itself.
Yes, they started opening around 1959.
Okay, so we'll cover that in the next episode. We'll see you then. Everybody have a great day, including a goodbye from our friend Romeo. A special thank you to our sponsor, Circa 1955. Nicole founded the company Lux Illume. She is a huge theme park fan, especially a huge Disney fan. Her subline, Circa 1955, has candles, wax melts, and room sprays that capture the magic of the theme parks, movies, and even television shows. If you order from their site and use the code PINK15, that's PINK15, then you'll receive 15% off your first order. Be sure to support a small company that supports us. The Pink Monorail podcast is part of the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network. This includes The Disney Dish, Fine Tuning, Epic Universal Podcast, I Want That Too, and Marvel Us Disney. Be sure to support and like the other channels as well. Have a great day.